Hello and good evening, you guys. Today it is Monday, November 16th, 2020, and this will be the first of a four-part video series where I will be looking at every team's reverse retro jerseys across the National Hockey League. I will be doing this as a four-part series to cover all the teams so that I have more time to talk about each team's uniform, and that way, I can spend more time talking about each division and all 31 teams and each specific jersey exclusively. So for part one of this series, I will be starting out with the Pacific Division. And then after that, basically I'm thinking I'll do one Western Division, then one Eastern Division, and then back and forth, or maybe even both Eastern Divisions back to back. I don't know yet. So what has happened today is the National Hockey League and Adidas unveiled all 31 of the reverse retro jerseys that we will see from every NHL franchise. Even the most classic of teams, the Montreals, the Torontos, the Chicagos, etc., are doing this as well. Even Montreal got a reverse retro jersey, and I'm not going to discuss that right away, but I'll discuss that when I get to the Atlantic Division, of course. So I figured it would be best to split this division or this into a four-part video series. So without further ado, I'm going to start by talking about the Anaheim Ducks reverse retro jersey. So they went absolutely bonkers, and they've done a white reverse retro of their infamous Wild Wing jersey. So if you ever wondered what it would be like to see the Ducks do a white Wild Wing jersey, well, wonder no more. This is it. And they've even elected to use the old Mistral font that came with the original this design the first time around. I gotta be honest, I tip my hat to the Ducks for having fun with this, but this absolutely sucks. This is not pretty. I don't know. It's just, this does not look good, in my opinion. And a little pet peeve I want to quickly mention as well. I'm also not a fan of Adidas doing modeling with fans rather than players. Now, I understand we're in a pandemic, but are you telling me they couldn't have put these models in hockey equipment so that they could at least have the modeling the jersey and the uniform as well as just the jersey like this as casual wear, or just to wear casually as a hockey fan? I think that's what they should do moving forward, where they don't just have your guy modeling it. You have him modeling it here, but also have him wearing the uniform if you can't get a player to actually model the uniform, because obviously we're still in the pandemic. But, if they could get these guys here for the modeling, and gals, because there were women that modeled these as well, I'm sure they could have worked something out to have some of the guy models wearing the uniforms head to toe too, eh? But that's just a small little mini rant on my part. But this Wild Wing uniform is definitely one of the worst in my opinion. And the thing that frustrates me is that, what the Ducks should have done? I think the Ducks should have just done a jade-colored Mighty Ducks jersey. That would have been a massive hit. This, I know a lot of people are going to have fun. I'm going to make a confession right now. I'm curious to see what the Wild Wing uniform looks like on NHL ice, because when it came out, I was just a baby. So that's going to be interesting, but just because you can bring something back, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily mean you should. This white Wild Wing jersey, yikes. Whew, that's ugly. I still think all they needed to do was a jade-colored Mighty Ducks jersey. It would have been a massive hit. But anyway, moving on, the Coyotes decided to bring back their desert landscape jersey, except they've redone it in purple. And I have to make a confession. This is the first time I've ever thought this jersey had any type of decent quality or redeeming qualities to it at all. The purple looks really good here. It goes terrifically well with the burnt orange and black. And it actually reminds me of the Phoenix Suns in a good way. And I have to be honest, I have never been a real total lover of the Coyotes Kachina throwbacks. And I actually think the Coyotes are a team that could pull off purple. And this proves me right, at least from my biased perspective, of course. This is the best I've ever seen this alternate design. The purple looks really good, and to see another NHL team bringing out a purple jersey, I'm a fan. Because I do agree with people, it would be very nice to see purple in the NHL a little more often. This looks good. It's not my favorite design in the world, but I've never seen it look better. It looks way better in purple than it does in dark green. So in this photo here, obviously 3 out of the 4 teams in this photo are not from the Pacific Division. So the only team the only jersey I'm going to look at in this photo is the Calgary Flame. So to me, it isn't really a reverse retro. The only thing that's really reverse retro about it is the shoulder patch, where it's white instead of red. Basically, they brought back the horse jersey from the late 90s and 2000s and took all of the red on the bottom of the jersey out. And I gotta be honest, it is not, in my opinion, they've taken the old horse jersey, a jersey that I've never been a true lover of either, to be quite honest. And I actually think they've kind of made it a bit worse. I'm not going to lie. I think at the bare minimum, they should have at least had yellow, the gold all the way down to the bottom of the arms and the bottom of the jersey. Or even if they put the red on the bottom and just left the thin gold and yellow stripe on the top where it was red underneath. Something, because that red on the bottom really brought out much needed color to this uniform the first time around. So, I tip my hat to the Flames for giving a lot of fans what they've been supposedly really wanting as of late, a Blasty jersey, but no, that's what they've called the horse logo, Blasty. But I don't like Blasty 2.0. I'm not a fan. Is the jersey okay? Yeah, I think once we see the entire uniform, it'll look better, but I must say I'm not a fan. I feel they took the original design and made it worse. Now, the next team to talk about in terms of Pacific Division teams is the Edmonton Oilers. And, I think it's great that we finally get to see a white Oilers jersey with an orange shoulder yoke. But this is not what I wanted in terms of an Oilers jersey that's white with an orange shoulder yoke. I would have rather patiently waited for the chance to see the Oilers do an actual WHA Alberta Oilers white throwback with an orange shoulder yoke rather than a reverse retro of their 80s white uniform. Now, is this design terrible? No. But I do think the solid, between the orange stripes being solid royal blue when the Alberta Oilers wore their original white jersey, which was a white flip of their orange jersey, which the Oilers did wear as a throwback uniform about 4 to 5 years ago. Now, this uniform isn't terrible, but I have to be honest, I'm gonna tell you guys what I actually would have really liked to have seen Edmonton do. You know what I would have liked to have seen them do? A white reverse retro of their navy blue Todd McFarlane designed alternate uniform from the 2000s. A white one would have looked really sharp. And I think it would have looked much better than this, even though I do like this. And I also find it rather ironic that since the Oilers have gone to orange and navy blue full-time, in the past 3 years, next season will be the second of the past 4 seasons that we've seen the Oilers wearing royal blue in some capacity. Personally, I still am annoyed and disappointed with Edmonton for switching to orange and navy full-time when the the royal blue and orange uniforms from the Gretzky era were the best that the Oilers have ever had by a mile, in my obviously biased opinion. I still think the Oilers had it right 5 years ago when they wore royal blue at home They had their white jersey with royal blue on the road, and they had their orange WHA throwback as an alternate. But as a fourth jersey, is this terrible? No, but I have to be honest. I honestly would have really liked to have seen a white reverse retro of their navy blue third jersey from the 2000s over this. And I think a lot of people, I don't know why, I have a funny sneaking suspicion that people would agree with me on that. A lot of people. I would have rather seen the Oilers do an orange shoulder-yoked white jersey when they actually do an actual WHA throwback rather than a quick reverse retro like that. But anyway, that's a matter of personal taste. I don't think that jersey sucks. I think Edmonton's reverse retro looks good. I just would have rather seen the Oilers wait to do a white WHA throwback rather than an actual white Alberta Oilers throwback rather than just the orange and royal blue from their 80s uniforms being flipped around, even though it still looks good. And the best part is the Oilers have a jersey that has some trace of royal blue on it. That should be their main color, not orange and certainly not navy blue either. Now moving on, the Los Angeles Kings. I love how they've taken the Gretzky era, once again, different team. The Los Angeles Kings, and they've redone it in foreign blue and gold. They're classic original colors. I agree with people who say that it's nice to see the Kings wear purple. And I actually like this reverse retro that they've done. I don't dislike it. I think it's going to look really good. I know it will look good. Truth is, I love their current gray third jersey. I think for an unconventional color, I actually really like their third jersey. I wouldn't want to see it let go anytime soon. But, and truth is, I hope that they haven't just retired the white Gretzky era throwback the Kings actually wore last season. I hope this is on top of both of those jerseys. But in a perfect world, I actually would love to see the Kings go back to the Gretzky era jerseys, the white and black ones, full-time home and away. Keep their gray third jersey for the time being, and have a jersey like this on top of that. Once again, this looks better than I thought it would have looked. And it's nice to see we're actually getting a couple of purple jerseys from two different teams for a change. That's something I'm not used to when it comes to the NHL. And it's nice to see purple making a bit of a return. I do agree with people. There should be some type of purple should be used by at least one NHL franchise. Now, for me personally, I'd like to actually see Arizona go to purple in some way, shape, or form with Kachina striping. But I love what the Kings did there for a reverse retro. I think they did a pretty decent job. The next team is the San Jose Sharks. Notice that they've taken their very first alternate uniform in franchise history, and they've done it in gray. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear I read somewhere that the Sharks actually are using the lighter original teal on this jersey instead of their longtime current teal that was actually first introduced with the original teal version of this jersey when it was at the time their first alternate jersey in franchise history before it ultimately became their primary colored uniform up until Reebok came along and the Sharks thought it was a good idea to get rid of the silver for burnt orange, which I have to make a confession. I do think that if this reverse retro program ever happens again, it would be really interesting to see the Sharks do a burnt orange jersey. Now, as I say that, whoa, I think I just dodged a couple tomatoes there. Sorry, Sharks fans, but something like that would be cool if they ever did a reverse retro program like this again. But I must say, the Sharks, I believe, are celebrating 30 years as a franchise, or they're calling it their 30th anniversary next season. I've already seen a 30th anniversary patch. So I couldn't think of a better way for the Sharks to celebrate their 30th anniversary than to do this and kind of treat it like a 30th anniversary jersey being, well, I know it's a reverse retro, but in recent years, we've seen a new trend of teams doing special anniversary jerseys. So seeing the Sharks do a new take on an old design like this, I think the light gray looks really good. I think this is 10 times better than their new stealth third jersey by far. And to do something like this when they're celebrating 30 years as a franchise, I think the Sharks did a really, really great job here. And if they add an actual throwback on top of this next season and their current third jersey, you know what? That's going to be a pretty good season for Sharks jerseys. And I still think this is better than their home and away jerseys too. For anybody curious to know my thoughts on this jersey compared to their main uniforms, I actually think out of their home, away, third jersey and this jersey, this is my favorite of the Sharks bunch. Unless they do bring back their original teal throwback or the white flip of it. If they bring one of those back, that'll be my favorite. But man, the gray here looks really good. I really like what San Jose has done with that reverse retro. It does look sharp. Now, the Canucks they just don't want to do anything that doesn't have the Orca or agency font on it. So, of all the jerseys the Canucks could do a reverse retro of, the 2001 alternate is maybe the most random choice in my opinion. You can tell from my voice that I'm trying to say that there were better options, obviously in my view, but I do think that this version of this gradient alternate uniform from the 2000s is better than the original that this design is based off of. But I have to be honest, I'm disappointed with the Canucks for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, I wanted to see a jersey that did not have the Orca on the front. Number two, I wanted to finally see the Canucks do a Kelly Green jersey. I thought we were finally about to get that, and then all of a sudden, that's the old, you lost music from The Price is Right. Not that it matters, but just as I thought the Canucks were finally getting a Kelly Green uniform, we got this instead. Now, one thing about this jersey, notice it doesn't have that awful agency font. That's a win in my books. The gradient here, the Kelly Green gradient with the navy blue, the green on navy looks really good here actually. And for a reverse retro design, it's definitely not the worst design in the NHL. Now, this one here, it's much worse. Okay, obviously that's a matter of personal opinion, of course. But yeah, this, it's not the design that I would have done, but it's definitely not terrible. I like this better than the original red and navy blue. The original version of this that used maroonish red instead of Kelly Green. But you know what I would have done for the Canucks? And if the Canucks did this, it would have been the most beautiful reverse retro jersey out of all of them, in my opinion. I think they should have taken their 40th anniversary jersey, the white throwback with the stick and rink, and done a reverse retro of that in Kelly Green. That would have been the best reverse retro jersey in the entire NHL, in my opinion. They would have smoked everybody else, in my opinion. That would have been gorgeous. I mean, I actually think this is not bad. For a fourth jersey, for a reverse retro, the Canucks could have done a lot worse. And the best part is it doesn't have agency font. And the Orca actually looks good on here because the logo actually matches the colors. Even though I agree with people, it could have used a green outline. But I don't know. I was hoping for more from the Canucks, but I have to be honest, I don't dislike this. They could have done a lot worse. But as I say that too, they could have done a lot better. Obviously, you can tell that from my 2 cents on the Canucks there, eh? And as my one subscriber, Caesar, kind of joked with me about when I did my reverse retro part 1 and my thoughts on the program so far, he said, he kind of noticed I said good, bad, ugly, and half decent in that video. Well, I'd say this Canucks one's half decent. It's between good and okay. It's definitely not bad. I actually don't mind it. And I still think the Canucks could have done a lot worse. But finally, to conclude this video, the Golden Knights red jersey with their alternate logo on the front, I'm happy for the fans that wanted their shoulder patch on the front of a jersey. So for that reason, I'm happy about this jersey for that. But you know, taking cues from the old Las Vegas Thunder of the old IHL, you know, this design's okay, but it kind of gives me a bit of a minor hockey vibe. It kind of looks more like a fashion jersey than an actual NHL jersey, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people probably are thinking I'm ridiculous for saying that. And if you feel that way, that's fair. But number one, the collar looks horrible. It looks like a gold toilet seat. Why couldn't they have just done a simple black collar with gold piping? That would have looked good. And the other thing, there's too much going on here. Where, for example, the Flames' new reverse retro horse jersey has too little going on. This has got too much. Black, gold, and steel gray on red. No. At the bare minimum, they should have taken the steel gray off of this jersey. Why? Because the gold and black on red is much nicer. Now, is it the worst reverse retro jersey in my opinion? Absolutely not. But it's definitely far from the best. Obviously, that's a matter of personal taste, eh? But yeah, so I've covered that jersey there. You know, I covered the Canucks one. I covered the Sharks one. The Sharks one's pretty good, actually. It's even grown on me as I filmed this video. The Kings one's good. The Oilers one's actually not bad. And the Flames one, I'm happy for the fans that wanted Blasty brought back. Personally, I didn't. I would have rather seen the Flames do a black flip of, believe it or not, their now promoted home jersey. I think that would have been cool. Or even if they did the original Blasty jersey, but with the red C on the front. That would have looked good too. But yeah, I think it would have been cool to have seen the Flames do their retro design, their now freshly promoted to home jersey status uniform, the 80s throwback, which thankfully is now their full-time home uniform again, and so it should be. If they did that in black with even the horse on the front, that would have been way better. But, you know, it's not my favorite design at all, but I'm happy for the fans that wanted Blasty, and the fact that the Flames used this opportunity to bring it back for those fans, that I think is a win in of itself. Arizona's purple here, for a crazy design, I've never seen it look better. It looks so much better in purple than it did in dark green. And this Wild Wing one, I think this gentleman's face says it all. He says, it's almost like he's saying, hey, you guys are making me wear this? Oh, come on. Looks bad. Yuck. This is definitely the worst one in the Pacific Division. I'd say for my favorite Pacific Division reverse retro, there's part of me that wants to say the Coyotes. There is part of me, but you know, I'm looking at all of them. It's definitely got to be the Los Angeles Kings. And this Coyotes one, in my opinion, I'd have to say it's second. And then I'd say I actually like this one a little better than the Oilers one, only because I'd rather see the orange shoulder yoke with going hand in hand with the WHA throwback, but I digress. But I definitely have to give Los Angeles my vote for nicest reverse retro. I would actually give the Sharks second place, and not by much. I like the Sharks reverse retro here. I'd say Los Angeles number 1, San Jose easily number 2, Arizona number 3, Calgary number 4, Edmonton number 5. Actually, no, I'd make Edmonton number 4. Now I sound like a kid at a restaurant that doesn't know what to order. But the worst one of the bunch is Wild Wing. 7th place goes to the Golden Knights. The Canucks get 6th place. I would give the Flames 5th place. I'll give the Oilers 4th place. The Coyotes 3rd place. San Jose 2nd, and the LA Kings number 1. But anyways, you guys, I'm going to call it a wrap on this video now that it's at 25 minutes of length. I'd like to hear your opinions on these uniforms. Most of the Pacific uniforms are not that great, in my opinion, but most of them are not bad. The Canucks one's even not bad, in my opinion. The Flames one, I feel like they took too much away from the original. The Oilers one, I think they could have done a little better. But yeah, anyway, I'm not going to elaborate on it anymore. But, you know, never mind. My next video, as for which division I'm going to do, that'll be a surprise. But let me know what you think of my thoughts on everything in the comments section below and what you guys thought of the Pacific Division reverse retros, or retro jerseys. But anyways, until my next video, you guys, take care, and as usual, bye for now.